Hey guys, Sinza here. Welcome to another Shadowlands beta raid testing video. In this video, we're going to be raid testing the Stone Legion Generals and then Shriekwing. Shriek Wing is the first boss of the raid, and then this that you see right now, the Stone Legion Generals, is I believe the second to last boss in the raid, and it's on heroic difficulty testing. Now, in this fight, both the Stone Legion Generals will share health, so multi-daughters cleave is encouraged, and they're pretty interesting because they have this mechanic where they will eventually one of them will go stone form, and then so it's basically like two different phases. So right now we have the two Stone Legion Generals, and as you can see, there's plenty of stuff to dodge. Um, there's one mechanic right here, the Reverberating Leap, which I did not get out far enough. Whoever gets the Reverberating Leap needs to move away from the group, and then you'll see that they'll jump to you. The boss will jump to you, and then they'll leave that thing on the ground. Now, I don't know if it was because of testing, but those circles didn't seem to really disappear. So they might disappear. We also didn't get through too much of the fight, but yeah, eventually, hopefully those things will disappear. But either way, you want to take those out. Um, you'll get this dot on you as well. This bleed, and it stacks. And we found out that the Kyrian potion, because the Kyrian potion removes bleeds, will just take it right out. So this kind of gives an idea on what to expect when it comes to covenants. It might be designed that way, so I don't know in the long run. I can see it potentially being a bad thing. Now you're going to want specific things for covenants. I think that's pretty cool. If you're a Kyrian, you know, covenant member, you get to use this potion. Whereas like if you're a Venthyr person, maybe there's a fight where you're going to want to use that teleport. So I think personally I think it's cool that there's ways to deal with certain mechanics depending on what covenant you are. But depending on that balance, it could be imbalanced. Like if that bleed is such a huge part of the fight, and you can just clear it with your potion, then now you only get three, and I actually don't remember if you can use more than one in a fight, but still, personally at this point, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I can already see it now in like Dungeon Finder, where people are doing a pug or whatever, and then they're like must be Kyrian, so you can cleanse the dot when they're on the Stone Legion Generals or something like that. But hopefully we don't see that, but it's just something that I can definitely see happening. Another thing is, so when you get to the second phase, there will be flying enemies. I'll go ahead and show a little bit of that now. Now, before going to the next phase, I wanted to show also this Wicked Blade thing. So, as you can see, it'll target two people and it'll ricochet off of both of them and then go back to the target. So, you're going to want to make sure that you are not, friends are not in between you and that thing. But this is the next phase. One of them, is stone, and then the Stone Legion Goliaths will fly down, and then there will be also these commandos in the air, and I believe Draven, one of the allies, goes up and starts attacking them. And so our job is to actually kill these ads, and then when Draven takes out the flying ones, then these anima orbs will drop on the ground that we'll have to go and collect in order to, end the phase. So it's a pretty interesting fight. Also with the bleed, like I said earlier, where you can clear the bleed off. Um, there's actually mechanics in the fight that let you do that. The combo that the boss does to the tank will take it off, and the petrification thing will take off any of your bleeds. So yeah, there's still ways to actually do it, but you can just kind of not really worry about those stacks. Let them stack up a few times, and then just use the potion if you're a Kyrian. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting fight. But overall, pretty cool. It bugs out a lot in beta. So what happens is a lot of times if you get to the phase with the flying enemies, and if you die there, then the enemies will stay, like at least one enemy will stay up even when the fight is over, and it'll just continually shoot stuff down and you can't target it. So that was a bug that we reported. Other than that, it didn't seem like the bug, the fight itself was glitchy, other than that, after fight glitch. So we definitely did better. We didn't get past phase two. Still might be pretty strong, but pretty decent fight. Great, cleave fight, especially if you're a daughter like warlocks or shadow priests, and yeah, has some interesting mechanics to deal with. So let's go ahead and move on to the second fight. Alright, so Shriek Wing is the first boss in the raid, and it's this giant bat, and it has technically, according to the Dungeon Journal, there's two phases, but I would say there's technically like three phases. So there's a beginning where you're just fighting the bat, and then, it has a cleave, so you don't want to stand in front of it, and it's attacking the tank and periodically putting bleeds on. Now this part right here is what I would call the second phase. Though it's I guess it's more of a mechanic, but it's you gotta hide, and then it'll start doing this echo screech, as you can see, and you have to just dodge those. So this was our first pool, so a lot of people died, but when it does that, it'll leave these pools on the ground. Now, these pools, if you can see my debuff section up near the mini map, I have this bleed that's on me, and it's stacking. Well, when you stand in those pools, it'll get rid of one stack every 2 seconds. And it doesn't do that until after it uses the echo screech. So we found out, and it was really difficult at the beginning. The reason why these beginning wipes were so quick is on heroic. At first, the Shriekwing does this bite on the tank that puts stacks of that bleed on. Now, originally it was 8 stacks, and that's it. Each stack reduces the healing by 10%, so it's kind of a big deal. So as soon as it did the bite, the tank would take 8 stacks of the bleed, and they would be taking a lot less healing. So then the other tank would switch, but then same thing would happen to them. After 2 bites, then it does the echo screech, which will put the pools on the ground, and you have to hide behind something. You have to break line of sight, so that's where we hid behind the pillars. The problem was Shriekwing will then continue to attack. So even though it didn't use the bleed again, it was still attacking where the tank was taking 80% less healing and this big dot on them. So that was hotfixed in the middle of the test to where each bite would only do 4 stacks to the tank instead of 8. So it became much easier to deal with. But yeah, the first part is pretty simple. Just attack the bat when it uses the shriek. Make sure you hide because it'll reduce the damage that you take. And then all players get the pools that's underneath them. Now the pools didn't do that much damage. Plus you have to stand in it every at least for 2 seconds to get rid of one stack. Later on in the fight, we pretty much just would mostly stand in it for the most part. And you definitely want to dodge these little discs on the ground. These discs here will stun you, and yeah, you don't want to get stunned when it's just sitting around and getting hit by stuff. Now, another thing is I'll go ahead and go on to that's pretty much the first phase. So I'll go ahead and show you the second phase. So when it gets to 100 energy, you'll see this blood gorge. Excuse the Lua error. I'm not sure. One of the add-ons, I think DBM was kind of messing up, but basically once it gets to 100 energy, you see this dark sonar. It goes into phase 2. Now you have to make sure that you don't get hit by any of these small discs because it'll stun you. And this is basically the bat's blind here, and it's only going to find you by using its sound, its sonar. So if you get hit by it, it'll use that deadly descent to come to you. You'll get stunned, and then you'll be attacked. Also, he does another ability where if you're within its line of sight, even though it's blind, if you're within the line of sight of the bat, when it casts it, it'll automatically detect you. And the other thing is during that blood gorge stage, if you're within 16 yards, it'll that's the worst part. Do not be within 16 yards because the other attacks will do decent amount of damage, but if you're within 16 yards, it'll instantly kill you because it does like 150 plus thousand damage to you. Which is way more than anybody's health is at this current stage. So yeah, the second phase is just pretty much, and he also takes reduced damage. So second phase is pretty much just don't do anything. Like don't get hit by anything. Don't worry about trying to attack him. He can't take that much damage anyway, and you'll instantly die if you get too close. So it's just dodge everything until Blood Gorge is over, and then it just goes back to the first stage. And it's just rinse and repeat. So nothing too intense, but still, as far as first bosses go, I think it's pretty decent. You got to do line of sight stuff. It's got a cool mechanic where you have to make sure he doesn't detect you. Ever since they reduced the stacks that the tanks take, it's not as bad. Um, we had we had a small group, and at least one of our players was lagging really badly, so it was a little difficult. But I don't think there's anything really glitched about this fight. It doesn't seem that overtuned. We just had to work on it. But yeah, pretty good first fight. Another two good fights to do in the raid. So that's all for this video. If you like it, please give a like and subscribe for future videos. And as always, thanks for watching.